This is Barry here, and you are very, very welcome to today's episode of the Passion to Profits podcast. Now, in today's podcast episode, as I always do, I want to talk about something important. So, what's the important thing today, Barry? Well, it is simply consistency. It is showing up and being consistent in your passion business. Because if you aren't consistent, you're not going to be successful. You can forget about the money, you can forget about the huge social media following, you can forget about all the followers, you can forget about anything happening if you're not consistent. You know, no one ever retires on one video. You know, you'll never go to a YouTube channel where somebody is a successful YouTuber with one video. You're never going to find a successful fiction writer that only has written one page of fiction. You're never going to find a successful podcaster with only one podcast episode. You're never going to find someone successful on TikTok with simply one video. And you need to realize that if you're going to be successful, it's probably going to take a lot of work. And if you aren't consistent, that work is not going to be done. You're not going to have the success that you're looking to achieve. Now, when it comes to consistency, too many people come online here with this kind of hare mentality. Now, the hare I'm talking about is the hare from the story of the hare and the tortoise. Now, I'm sure you know how that race ends. The tortoise won the race. And the tortoise won the race because the tortoise kept consistently taking the steps. Even though he couldn't keep up with the hare, even though there was a good chance the hare was going to win, he was just consistent. He just plodded away on his own course, and the hare, too full of himself, raced off into the distance, got tired, sat down, fell asleep, and the tortoise just walked on by them. And I see a lot of people coming online like that hare, assuming that they can record one video and they're going to go viral, that they're going to become an overnight success, that everything is going to fall into the lap after doing maybe a week's work. Whereas a tortoise will know that whatever they're about to do is going to take a lot of work. It's going to take step after step after step. But as long as they keep focusing on the steps, each step is going to bring them to the finish line. And that's what you need to be. You need to be more like the tortoise and less like the hare. Because you always find the hares burn themselves out and they're never heard from again. We've all seen those hares. We've all seen those people who post a lot of content in 1 week on social media or do a lot of stuff on TikTok for a day or two and then they're never heard from again. But you can be guaranteed the people you follow, the people that you kind of follow on social media, whose podcasts you listen to and whose videos you watch, are usually people who are consistent. They have put out a lot of content over a long period of time. Now you need to realize that although consistency is boring and probably seems like you're never going to get there, because sometimes you might be taking small steps every single day, the steps that you take are like compound interest in the bank. It adds to itself. So if we have a look at maybe a small action you took yesterday, if we take a small action today, the small action you take today is going to be added to yesterday's action. Now if you show up tomorrow, that small action you take tomorrow is going to be added to today's action, and it's going to be added to yesterday's action. And you're going to find like a snowball going down the hillside. All those actions are just compounding on each other, which means your results are getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and eventually that momentum is just going to take off and your results are going to be huge. But in the beginning you might find maybe that there's not too much happening. It's very easy not to see what's going on with this kind of compound actions building on top of each other, but they are growing the more you keep adding and adding and adding to it. Now, one of the problems I think people have with being consistent is they have bad habits, because your habits have got you where you are right now. And if you're looking to change your life, it's going to involve you changing your habits again. You know, if we look at our habits when it comes to money, if we look at our habits of our diet, exercise, if we look at the habits we have with our relationships, you can be guaranteed that the reason they are in the state that they are is because of bad habits that we have. That if we fixed our eating habits, if we fixed our exercise habits, we probably wouldn't have those few spare pounds on our waist. You know, if we change our habits in our relationships, you can be guaranteed our relationships will be better. And I think a lot of people who try to be consistent and can't do it is because the bad habits eventually overtake the good habits that they did for a couple of days, and then they're back to what they used to do before. And so they just don't take action. So what you need to do is you need to realize that if you're going to be consistent, you need to build on those actions. You need to build on those habits until they become part of your life. And you will find that by being consistent, yes, it may be difficult in the start, but the more you're consistent, the more it becomes a habit, the more it becomes part of your day, it'll suddenly become autopilot. Take these videos here, for example. It's going to be hard for me to be consistent for a couple of days recording videos. But there will be some point in the future where I will have no problem showing up here, recording a video. I won't even think about it because it's going to become part of my day. And it's going to be the same for you as well too. Yes, it's going to be tough in the beginning. It's going to be hard to be consistent, but over time, it's going to become part of your day. It's going to become another habit, and you're going to do it automatically. You won't even have to think about it anymore. Now, when it comes to us being consistent, there are probably 3 obstacles that hold us back. Not just our habits, but these 3 things: our motivation, distractions, and perfectionism. Now, the first thing, motivation. A lot of people think, well, if I'm going to take action today, I need to be motivated. I need to be inspired. I need to like doing what I'm doing. And then when I have those things, well, then I'll show up and record the videos. Now, there's been many days when I have recorded videos here, when I haven't been motivated, when I haven't been inspired, when I didn't want to record a video, but I knew it needed to be done if the videos were going to get recorded. If the podcast episode was going to be recorded, it meant showing up on those days. And you need to realize that if you want to be consistent, consistency needs to be more important than your motivation, than your inspiration, than you liking what you do. There will be days when you will like what you do, but you can guarantee there will be days when you're tired, you're just grumpy, you're not inspired, you're not motivated, but those are the most important days. Because as I said, that small action you take, even though you mightn't be motivated or inspired, will add to yesterday's actions and the other day's actions. And when you break that chain, you're breaking that compound interest so that you're not going to build that momentum as quickly. Now, when it comes to distractions are certainly a reason for people not to be consistent, because we get distracted with social media, we get distracted with things going on in our lives, we get distracted with the news and newspapers and all the different things that are trying to pull us away from being consistent. If you look around you, you can be guaranteed that most people don't want you to be consistent. They have their own agendas, sometimes consciously, sometimes subconsciously, but you're going to find a lot of people don't want you to get to where you want to get to, and they are going to try and pull you off the route that you're at. If you're recording videos, after a period of time, your friends are probably going to say, well, why are you recording those videos? Why don't you come out and go for a drink tonight? Or let's go out and forget that. We can do those videos at another point. And you're going to find those people are trying to pull us off the path that we're on. Now, that doesn't mean that you have to be a joy kill and not go out, but you have to realize that you need to cut down the distractions. That if the videos need to be made, the videos need to be made regardless. The blog post needs to be written regardless. The podcast episode needs to be done regardless of what's going on outside you. So try to limit your distractions. Try to limit the distractions of social media that's eating up parts of your day that could be used to better use by you actually recording content or actually building your passion business. Now, finally then, perfectionism. Perfectionism for some people is a problem with them being consistent. Because what they try to do is they try to record the perfect video today, and it could take them maybe 100 videos before they get the perfect video. And what they do is to publish that video today. But then they're thinking to themselves, tomorrow it's going to take another 100 videos before I'll possibly record a good video. And when you have that thought in your head going into the following day that it has to be perfect, that you're probably going to have to do another 100 videos, do you really think that you are going to do those videos on day 2? Of course you're not. You're going to drop out. You're going to say it's not worth it. And that's because you've got a high standard of perfectionism. And I think if more of us kind of lowered our perfection level and just focused on getting our work good enough, that would help us be more consistent. If that person recording the videos just recorded videos to a good enough level to get it there and get it out, they'd find it a lot easier to show up to tomorrow. Now, when it comes to perfectionism is a lie. And it's a lie that we tell ourselves. And I think the reason we want to be perfect is because we're scared of people criticizing us. If we write the perfect blog post, if we record the perfect podcast episode, if we do something perfectly, it means people can't criticize us. People can't make fun of us. And we're scared of people making fun of us or criticizing us. We don't want to leave them that opportunity to get at us. So we try and do our work perfectly. But you can be guaranteed that people are not going to like you because they just don't like you, regardless of what you do, whether you do perfect work or whether you do bad work. And you're going to find that perfectionism is a moving target. And that even if you have something perfect, you can be guaranteed in 6 months from now, when you come back at it, you're going to laugh at it because it's going to be far from perfect. And that's because as a person, you have improved, you've got better, and your levels of work are up at a different level than they were 6 months ago. So you need to realize that consistency is more important than perfectionism. It's more important to record a video to a good enough level consistently than sporadically do perfect videos that aren't going to build any momentum. So what you need to do as well too is when it comes to consistency, you need to focus on progress, and you need to focus on progress of showing up day after day after day after day, because you're going to find that wherever you're going to get to, whatever the end goal is, it's going to involve work being done day after day after day. But as I said, if you have this idea of perfectionism, it's going to put a mental block on you. It's going to put a lot of pressure on you. So what you need to do is you need to realize that whatever work you do today isn't going to be great. But the longer you do it, the better you're going to get at it. And when you consider this, if I am consistent, say for 100 days, recording videos, you can be guaranteed that by the end of the 100 day, I will be at a different level than where I am on day one. But if I was trying to be perfect, how many days of those 100 days would you think I would make a video? Maybe you do 10, maybe do 20. But if you consider me on day one and day 100 only doing 20 videos that I think are perfect, do you think I'll be as good as someone who did it consistently for 100 days? No, you've been guaranteed the person who recorded the episodes for 100 days is going to be at a different level. So instead of focusing on perfectionism, focus on progress. Another way of staying staying consistent is being accountable. Now, this is something I don't do myself. Some people do have like accountability partners. They team up with some group, maybe in social media, where they all check in with each other, and then they all make sure that everybody's consistent, that everybody show up and do their videos today, that everybody write their blog post, and they're just kind of checking on each other. And while that's all good and well, and if that works for you, certainly do it. But what I find is that when you make somebody your accountability partner, you need a really good accountability partner, someone who you can guarantee to show up. You know, you see sometimes maybe somebody wants to lose weight, and what they do is they team up with a friend and they say, well, let's go running, every evening until we lose this weight. And what happens is that maybe it could happen for a day or two. They go for 1 or 2 jogs, and then on the 3rd day or the 4th day, suddenly the best friend is suddenly sick, suddenly tired, doesn't want to go out, and then that other person doesn't take action because the other person let them down. And what they say to themselves is, well, I didn't go for a run because Sally didn't show up today, or John didn't come round to meet me, and because he didn't go running, I won't go running. And I find that sometimes when it comes to an accountability partner, if you haven't got somebody who is there day after day after day, we kind of use that as an excuse that if they don't show up, well, then we won't show up. So in my own case, I don't have an accountability partner. The only person I keep myself accountable to is the future version of myself. And by me thinking of the future version of myself every day, I'm thinking to myself, is it fair of me not to do the work today and expect the future version of me to live the life that I probably will live if I don't take action? Now, I'm sure the future version of me will be glad that I am sitting in the seat today when I'm not motivated, when I'm not inspired, but that I'm doing the work. And that's what you need to do, is if you do find maybe you can't get a good enough accountability partner, you have to picture the future version of you. And by you not taking action, you're letting them down. And if you can't find maybe that you can't be motivated for yourself, sometimes you do greater things for other people. Think about maybe letting your partner down. Think about maybe letting your kids down. Think about all the money you're not going to make because you're being lazy. Think about all the things they're going to miss out on. All the holidays you could possibly take them on because you would have had more money. But by you not showing up today, you're letting your partner down, you're letting your kids down, you're letting your family down. And sometimes you find that if we can use other people as a kind of a carrot to keep us going, that'll keep you going. So as I said, if you want to use accountability partners, certainly use that. But as I said, sometimes you use them as an excuse that if they don't show up, well, then we won't show up. but maybe using the future version of you or how you're going to let yourself down, sometimes that could help you. But try out and see which one works for you. But that's what I found with accountability partners is you need a really good one, or you need to just, unfortunately, force yourself to do the work. Now as well too, momentum builds with consistency. As I said, like the snowball going down the hillside, momentum is going to build up over time. All the little actions are going to be added to one another. And you're going to find that by you being consistent, it means you're going to get better at what you're doing. That if you show up for 100 days, as I said with the videos, you are going to be in a far better place than someone who only shows up in 5 or 10 days over those 100 days. So the momentum means that you are going to get better. It's going to find it easier. And the more you are actually taking action day after day after day after day, it's going to quickly become a habit. You can imagine that whatever you're about to do, if you recorded videos for the next 30 days or wrote blog posts for the next 30 days, there would be one point, maybe in the 31st or 22nd day, that would just become a habit. You wouldn't even think about it. You would automatically sit down and record your videos or write your blog post because that would just be part of your day. And as well too, when it comes to momentum, maybe a story or maybe an example to help explain this was something I remember reading a long time ago. I think it was in, I forget what book it was. Now, it was a book I read a long time ago, but the illustration of consistency and momentum was explained well by a water wheel. And what the author said was there was this water wheel that over time, as the water was dropped on it, it was just kind of turning and turning and turning. And as it was turning, because it was wood and because water was landing on the wheel didn't get a chance to rot because it was constantly turning and the water was dripping off it. What the author said was that momentum, if this water stopped dropping, that the wheel would eventually slow down and eventually start to rot because the water had a chance to actually get into the grains of wood and actually rot the wood. And what the author said as well too was when that wheel slowed down and came to a stop, it was going to take a lot of water to actually get that wheel turning again and get it back up to speed. And you're going to find that as well too that, that rot will set in if you stop for a day or two. If you've been consistent for a couple of days and then you say, well, I'll take a week off, you're going to find that when you come back the following week, you're going to have to put a lot of effort in just to get yourself mentally and maybe physically back up to speed again and get back in the groove. But if you do it consistently, you're going to find it's not going to be as much work for you because it's just part of your day. And like that water wheel, it's not going to take much momentum for you to keep taking action. Whereas if you stop, it's going to take a lot of action to get going again. And if you imagine that wheel, every time that wheel stops, that's a lot more effort you have to put in again to get yourself going again. And you might find at one point maybe you can't get that momentum going, that you can't get that wheel to turn. Whereas if you just do a little bit every single day, it's going to keep that wheel spinning and it's going to stop that rot from settling in. So the long-term benefits of consistency are, as you probably expect, it's going to get you to your goal. Whatever your goal is, regardless of how far away it seems, every day you're being consistent, it's going to be another step. It's going to bring you closer to your goal. So you will get there eventually. It's also going to build character in you. It's going to develop habits in you. It's going to change your life. And if you can stay consistent, you will be glad you stayed consistent. You will be glad that you are the type of person who can make themselves do things they don't want to do. When you see those videos on TikTok where people are getting into these pools of water and it's like maybe -3 outside and you're thinking to yourself, why the hell would anyone get up first thing in the morning, put themselves into one of those wee plunge pools and just sit in that cold water? But the reason they're doing that, although there is probably some health effects of being in cold water, what they're doing is they're switching on part of the brain. And what they're saying to the brain is, I don't care whether you're cold, I don't care whether you're scared, I don't care whether you dread getting into this water, we're going to get into this water. And what they do over time is they develop a part of the brain that makes them take actions even when they don't want to take it. And you're going to find by you being consistent, that part of your brain is going to grow. And it's going to make you take action when you don't want to do it, when you're not inspired, when you're not motivated. And you're going to look out around at the other people who are waiting for motivation and inspiration. You're thinking to yourself, what the hell? How do they think they're going to be successful? Because they need to realize that, you need to show up when you don't want to do it. So as I said, if you are looking to be successful in building a business around your passion, in building following, in making money, you really need to be consistent. I think consistency is probably far more important than talent and skills, because the talent and skills will develop over time if you're being consistent. But if you're skilled and talented and you can't be consistent, well, then I'm afraid you're never going to get there. So I hope you enjoyed this podcast episode. If you did enjoy it, and if you have any comments or any questions at all, please feel free to leave them below the video. And as always, have a lovely day. Take care. Bye-bye.